I sent the picture to of us the selfie that we took to the team in Messenger so that they could be jealous, I think is what I was looking for. Yeah. Yay, good. Okay, so without further ado, I know we may have some people join late. I did tell y'all that I would record. I will put it on YouTube like I've done the others. It's a private link, or an unlisted link, so that way I can send it out and it doesn't, get found. It's kind of a secret thing, a vision. Yeah, it's totally vision casting for what life looks like, Cassie. I like it. For sure, for sure. And Tracey and I talked about all the things while we were keeping an eye on her youngest. Kai, who was playing in the sand, and then the olders were out in the water surfing together, which was really, really fun, including Trevor, Tracey's husband. I was explaining to them in my message about this call today, Tracey, that I was enamored with you in 2015 at the Gold Retreat, you and Ashley and Kimberly and yeah, we're all sitting around the table. I just remember at this one coffee shop having these incredible conversations about digital marketing. I didn't even know what digital marketing was. I think I called it probably like web stuff, for lack of a better word. And I was like geeking out, like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And they email people. Like I came back and did some sort of like email campaign thing because of that. And there's been all sorts of different funnels and systems and things that we have tried and used. But one of the things I appreciate most about you, and I interviewed you, I'll have to pull that out. That was a long time ago at a coffee shop up by your house. But the thing I continue to just be amazed by is, you started as a blogger at Don't Mess with Momma. Well, you have a history in corporate America too, but the blogging thing was just your heart. And you were really good at navigating all of that. And so you have been consistent. I think that's the thing, as you've grown to Crown Diamond in this company, you're consistent in your team building. Your teams look different across the states. So as I see the makeup of people who are on this call today, I want to acknowledge that we're not all building the same way. I mean, some of us are linking arms and doing things together here locally, but several of you who may see this recording or who are on today, Khadija, Sherry, for example, are building a lot more online, more of a global market, more aware of how Young Living gets translated into other communities. So anyway, I'm just super grateful that you're here. I've done a lot of edification of you about who you are and your background a little bit. They always know when I post something, oh, is that from Tracey? I'm like, yeah, it's from Tracey. And so it's just really awesome that you're spending time with us this afternoon. So thank you again for that. We'll have to do choice together this weekend so that I can pay you back for your time today. That's one of our favorite juice places in Carlsbad Village.
I know, anytime Ange is in town, I'm like, please call me. Would love to get together. It's so fun. And let me just tell you, that was so sweet, the introduction. Let me just tell you, you guys are so lucky. You've got Ange, you've got, Deb, and just everybody in your upline. Like, they are just amazing. Like, I truly just love being around them, just their positivity, their energy, legit. I'm like, let's meet up. I would love to hang out together. So, just like you were saying at the coffee shop, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, she's got a really good vibe. I really like hanging out with her. So what good fortune that you guys have with Angela as your upline. I just love, in particular, what I think is so fun is when we get together, we have fun, but we also kind of talk shop quite a bit, right? And our skills are quite different, right? And so it's really cool to come together and collaborate, especially with Ange, her relationship building, team building. They're just, the skills are so strong there. So I'm like, please give me all the feedback. So it's been really great to hear from her. But I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I know I've met many of you in person before as well. And so it's so great to see your faces on here. And just wanted to say, I'm really honored to be here, and yes, definitely available to, answer questions at the end. If you want to type in the chat box, that's totally cool. If you don't know who I am, my name is Tracey Black, and I live in San Diego. I have 3 boys, my husband as well, Trevor, he is amazing. And we are originally from Hawaii. We moved here I almost hate to say it, like 20 years ago, maybe a little more than that. I kind of forget at this point. But we, kind of fell into this business. I think it's really important to kind of talk about the backstory a little bit because I think everybody's journey and backstory into the business is really really key, because I think it's really important to take your skills, right, and to push that forward. But I have a background in digital marketing, which is kind of cool to hear Ange talk about that. But I worked in corporate America, in particular in healthcare, for a long time. By the time my third son was born, I was like, what am I doing? I'm leaving him at daycare all the time. I don't like this. It was done. And so I was like, I think I'm going to try this blogging thing and see if I can monetize it. And was able to do that. And it was awesome. Was able to take the skills from my digital marketing background and do that. And I just really had a passion for just sharing. My husband at the time was dealing with autoimmune issues. And so I was sharing that. We were going gluten-free. And this is about the point where I had been introduced to essential oils. My upline is Lindsay Gramont, who's out of Austin, Texas, and we didn't know each other in real life. And so I think it's so funny how our businesses have evolved, because we only know each other through blogging. That's how we knew each other. We would just talk and swap stories and like promote each other, right? Like on social media, but I didn't really know her in person. But she started talking about oils, and I kid you not, if this is not like just like seriously, just a great strategy to keep doing all the time. She said, I've got a $20 enrollment coupon. I've only got 2 left. Who wants it? And I was like, oh, me. I want it. I want it. So it still works. Like I do this all the time. That scarcity, right? And the time sensitive, right? There's only a couple left, and the first 2 who get it totally worked on me. And I was like, sure, I'll take it. Got my kit because I was wanting to make my own cleaners. That's how I got into oils, because my husband had autoimmune issues. I knew that the bleach and the 409 were not good for him. So I was looking for natural solutions. And honestly, I wasn't really intending on doing this as a business. I was like, all right, I'll just put like a link up on my blog, because that's what bloggers do, right? We do like affiliate type things, right? Like we promote things maybe in a blog post or whatever. I had no intention. I didn't even know what an MLM was, or what the business entailed, like legs and leaders. Like I had no clue. I mean, I probably didn't even really take it that seriously until, I kind of accidentally hit start. I was like, oh, okay, so a few people enrolled. What does that mean? Like I had no idea. And here was something that was really cool. And Lindsay was very new to this too. And I think this is what's so amazing is like, you go back and you think, wow, that was it. She basically was like, who wants to set up a phone call with me? I'm like, sure, I'll set up a phone call with you. I don't even know what we talked about, but the fact that we had the phone call and she was like, Tracey, you could totally do this. Just the fact that she said, you can do this. I was like, yeah, I guess I could, huh? I already got this like whatever, $50 paycheck from accidentally building. Sure, I think I could do this. And so it was just her saying the words to me. And by the way, if we're talking about personalities, I'm a total red, some green, a little bit of blue, not much yellow, but like just saying the words, like you can do it. I was like, yeah, I can do it. I can totally do this, right? It's just one of those things. So I just kind of say that because maybe in the back of your head as you're building relationships, right? Speaking that life into other people when they don't know that they can do it, like they don't even know what it is. That's exactly where I was. I didn't even know what it was. And I was like, okay, yeah, I think I could do this. So as I was thinking about what to share with you today, by the way, this is the green coming out. I have 6 tips for building to silver, okay? Because that's how my brain works. We were talking about categorizing, but that's how my mind is like 5 steps, 6 steps. We're talking about 6 things. But I was kind of going over and thinking about, wow, I've been doing this for about 6 years now and, hit silver fairly quickly. And I will tell you, it was awesome to hit quickly. But at the same time, when I look back, I can definitely see areas where I was like, ooh, made a mistake there, hit a roadblock there. But I love what Andrew was saying earlier in that consistency and perseverance, right? Like with each mistake, I learned to pivot, right? And go, okay, that didn't work. Let me try something else. I didn't just say this whole thing doesn't work. I learned to pivot and make incremental changes, right? To find the sweet spot. And I think everybody's sweet spot is going to be a little bit different, right? 99% of my team is not local to me. Pretty much like 95% of the people that I've enrolled, I didn't know because I enrolled them through my blog or through social media. So, that relationship building, I would say this is why I love talking to Ange, because I'm like, tell me more, because that was something that I was lacking in the beginning. I came from corporate America, right? Where I'm not really working to build a relationship. It's like, let's do A, B, and C. Let's release this and post that, right? Write this thing. There wasn't a focus on the relationship building, right? That's a very unique thing to network marketing. And so something that I would say in the beginning was I didn't focus on relationships. And that I would say is the number one thing, getting you to silver, getting you to any rank. Okay. But in particular for silver is building relationships. And so when I look back, I think I relied too much, because I enrolled people through social media and I didn't know them. I relied too much on social media to like make connections with them. And so now I know, right? Pick up the phone, go, hey, do you want to set up some time to chat? Hey, here, send something in the mail to them. I was really just Facebook messaging everybody. So if I could go back and make changes, that would be it. But at the same time, I own up to that too, because I feel like I really learned from that experience. And so now I know how to do it differently. So I kind of like own it and wish I could change it at the same time, but it was good learning for me. And that is just definitely something that I would recommend to you too. But relationship building is just really key. And, my personal belief is when you have that personal connection with people, they feel like you're there for them, right? We know this and we feel this ourselves, right? When someone just comes to us and says, hey, do you want to buy this? It feels so disingenuous, right? We're like, gosh, just sees me as like a dollar sign. But if you make that personal connection with someone, they feel like, okay, she really knows me. She's really looking out for me. All right. When she's talking to me about ER or building my ER order, okay, I really trust her, right? Or when she's talking about these new convention products, all right, I get it. If she's excited about it, I know I'll be excited about it, right? Or even talking about the business, it just builds that credibility and that trust. So I'm sure you guys are all killing it at relationship building, but I will tell you, for me personally, it was a lot of work that I had to do because it didn't come natural to me. The personality colors, right? We all know personality colors or Enneagram. I like personality colors. Enneagram's cool, but personality color, I just like that there's 4 things. Enneagram, it's so many, I can't remember all of them. But I think it's cool. But I feel like knowing colors or like knowing personality types with other people is so key. I would say that's one of my favorite things that I've learned in this business, that I learned on my own, right? So the 4 personality colors, it's been really interesting because I've learned how to talk to people based on their color, right? So you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to motivate them. I for sure know my enroller Lindsay knows exactly how to talk to me. If she dangles a carrot, or if she does any kind of recognition or says, you'll be the first, I'm like, done, I'm on it, right? Because that's how my personality is. But that doesn't work for everybody. So I really believe that honoring someone's personality and knowing that they're different and knowing how to talk to them and motivate them. So I will talk very differently to a yellow than I would to a green, for instance, right? Like so differently. And you motivate them differently as well. And I would also say, in terms of the relationship building, especially in how my leaders lead, right? So, you are all different from Angela, right? And that's awesome. You all have your own unique gifts and skills. And that's why collaborating together works so well, right? It would be no fun if we all had the exact same skills, right? We all have something cool to bring to the table. And so for me, it's like even recognizing with my leaders, how we can come together and collaborate. And I'll talk about in more detail some of the things that we've done. But in particular, for instance, collaborating on a class seems so simple, right? But for sure, I've got my blues, right? Who it's like the last minute they're coming. They're like, I'm coming to the party. But when they show up, oh man, they are engaged. They get everybody laughing and up on their feet, right? I am like the red green. So I'm like, all right, what's the agenda? I need to know what the agenda is. Let's organize it. Let's put it in boxes. Let's do all these things. Let's promote, like I'm like, boom, 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 let's get this promoted. And I like a little bit of the details. And then I love my yellows, right? Because it's sort of let's get all the people together. Let's make everybody feel comfortable. So it's just recognizing all of those things. And so we collaborate and work so well together because we honor those personality differences in each other. But you could really, just thinking about how you get to that next level, how you get to silver, right? like helping to motivate people based on what motivates them, not what motivates you, right, is really, really key. Again, they will run for silver for a completely different reason than how you will run for silver. And if anybody is a red on here, I'm in particular talking to you. I think sometimes reds, we feel, well, maybe we don't necessarily feel bad because that's not really a character trait for us. But, you know, we might just feel like, oh man, am I just doing this for the money? Because that's kind of like how reds kind of think. I'm going to tell you, that is an awesome thing. And I really had to turn this on its head a little bit. I was like, I want to help other moms make money, right? Like we all want to help people, right? But I want to help other moms, especially moms, because I'm in that place. I remember being in that place like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay for this medical bill, right? I just quit my full-time job. I want to help other people make money. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, of course, I want to help them with their health, I want to help them with their wellness, but to get paycheck in hand where they feel like they don't have that anxiety, they don't have like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get to next month? That makes me feel happy and proud. So in particular for you reds, like, I don't want you to ever be ashamed for like going, I love this business for the paycheck. You should love it for the paycheck, right? And I'm, like I said, I'm in particular talking to you reds, but that's an awesome thing. It's amazing. And when you know how to like use that gifting to help other people get it too, it's awesome. Okay, second thing, don't reinvent the wheel. Again, you've got Ange and her team, right? They do their Facebook group, which is amazing. They do calls just like this. We were talking earlier, graphics, which I think is awesome. I think the thing with don't reinvent the wheel is, I will tell you early on, I felt like I had to create like all the graphics. Like, I need to have my own team graphics. I need to do my team this. And, we just don't do that anymore. I will tell you, like, most of the graphics that we use, I have borrowed from someone else with their permission. Thank you. I like to take my own photos. So that's something that I will often do. But really, it's one of those things where if your upline's already providing it for you, right? Spend the time, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, spend the time on the enrollment versus the busy work, right? That's where I'm kind of getting at with this. Like, if you like have this amazing design background, of course, use your gifting, right? But that was not me. I do not have an amazing design background. I was just like, I just feel like I should be doing it just because, right? And it was just a huge time waster for me. So once I did that, I realized how much more time I had to enrollment, to educating my members, to getting people to, learn about the business. So, really just kind of thinking about that. Like, what are there things that you're doing, right? That maybe you already have available to you that you don't need to be doing, right? Time suck. The other thing is, not just thinking about reinventing the wheel is, I have this in the wrong place. I have notes. Hold on. Is the graphics, the classes, right? Of course, I think it's awesome to collaborate on classes and do your own classes. I think this is something to kind of work with your upline about. So I will tell you, something that we did during quarantine that was really cool is we offered a lot of one-on-one workshops. And so I will tell you, these are just cool learnings, right, over time that we've learned. So for instance, what we did before was Team Virginia would do their classes. Team Pennsylvania did their classes. I'm in California to do, we were working kind of in silos, right? And for my newbies who were kind of on their own in Minnesota or in Texas or whatever, I would help them, but there wasn't a lot of cross collaboration. We were kind of doing our own thing. So what quarantine helped us with was, we're all at home. What are we going to do? So we started offering online classes. It was amazing. And what we found was, even if people couldn't actually host the classes themselves, they were inviting like crazy because we were doing a lot of promotion on that. So again, that's kind of like the not reinventing the wheel. If your team's already offering the class, right, why don't you invite your people to come and join the class? And I think that's huge. And something that I was just talking to a group today about on my team is, when you are engaged, you're going to have engaged members. So let's say your upline is teaching classes, right? You invite people, you show up, right? I've seen scenarios where people will invite, but they themselves don't show up. Now, it's one thing if like you got a conflict or whatever, right? That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, like, on a consistent basis, they're not showing up, but they're inviting people. Members can see that. They will notice, right? And if you're not showing up, they're not showing up. So if you want to engage members, you need to be engaged. And of course, there's so much value in teaching your own classes, but there's also a lot of value in, you know, funneling people into the resources and the classes that, you know, Ange and this amazing team already has. So it's both, right? Like, we want to have that big cross team collaboration. And at the same time, we also want to foster people and help them to do their own classes as well. That's where the duplication comes in. Something else, and you've probably heard this because we were saying this for years, but I've taken this a step further, is you've probably heard the term always be sharing. This is number 3, but don't write always be sharing down. You've heard always be sharing, okay? And we were saying that always be sharing, always be sharing. And I've decided as of recent that it's too passive. And so what I've told my team is, this is number 3, always be inviting. I feel like sharing is sometimes too passive. It's like, yeah, I shared, but I like inviting. I feel like it's stronger. And I've been able to really show my people that it's not just sharing an oil or sharing to a class, it's sharing the business. Right? It's inviting to a business. It's inviting to sell a kit. It's inviting to a class or a sample. So I love the term always be inviting. So at this level for you guys, right, silver is right there for you. I love this. If you're not inviting people, right, to come to a class, to teach a class, to sell kits, to join the business, this is a hobby, right? If you're not inviting, this is a hobby. If you're not constantly making offers or inviting, this is a hobby. And that has really helped my team kind of make that differentiation, right? Like, okay, I need to take this a step further. So what do you invite to? Classes, right? So like I said earlier, during quarantine, we did a major push to get everybody to invite to our classes. So we offered, I think that first month, because everybody was at home, we probably offered like 8 or 10 one-on-one classes. That doesn't mean I was teaching all of them. I probably taught 3 of them, but we promoted all 10 of them. It was lots of cross-line working together. It was amazing. And so we were like, we did a big push. We're like, be inviting. I even did a promo, I think at that time. You could do anything, a roller bottle, a sticker, a label, right? If you invite 10, you'll get the label. I mean, something so simple like that. People were moving like crazy. I kid you not. We were having like 500 invites to classes, right? I was like, I better bump up my Zoom membership so that we can get 500 people on here. And it was really, really cool. Here's what happened is, whether or not I was teaching right, what we noticed was we were having like 30, 50, 100 people show up to a 101 Zoom class. Before then, it would be like 5, maybe 10 if we were lucky. I mean, we were seeing really big results just because we were promoting these 101 classes. And here's kind of a strategy. I'll just kind of go into a little bit of detail before I move on to inviting to all the things. But we did something really cool. I don't know if you guys do this, but what I found was, especially with my newer people, they just had a lot of anxiety about teaching a Zoom call. Like, they would always go to the Facebook class. I want to do the Facebook class. And I'm like, girl, they want to see your face. They don't want to see a graphic. It's not engaging anymore. Like, that's what we did 5 years ago. It doesn't work anymore. If it's working for you, please tell me what you're doing. But it wasn't working for us personally. So we came up with this format that has worked really well. So it's a 4-person format. And so what we do for this Zoom 101, okay, is we basically break up the script. Each person will share like a 5-minute intro to their story, right? Like, how did they get into oils? How did oils help them? Then they share something from the script. So like, person 1 will share, for instance, what are oils? Maybe the second person shares how oils work, like the 3 ways, right? Aromatic, topical, and dietary. The third person will talk, you know, maybe seed to seal and farms. The 4th person will talk about the kit, how to get the kit, refer to the person who, you know, go back to the person who referred you to this call. And it was just this 4-person format. And each person would talk about 3 oils from the kit. So in a nutshell, we basically broke up the script. We focused very heavily on sharing the story. Each person had 15 minutes. Do you know how easy it is to go to someone who just got their oils and go, hey girl, 15 minutes. Can you be there? Right? So much easier than like you're going to lead a class all by yourself and I'll be there to help co-host. It was like people coming out of the woodwork. Like, honestly, I didn't have the intention of doing 10 classes that first month. We had to do 10 classes because so many people were coming out of the woodwork saying, I want to do it. So it was amazing. So back to this strategy, the 4-person strategy, what I suggest is you guys, right, are the experience, like you've taught classes before. I would put the experienced people on the front and on the back end, and you put your 2 newbies in the beginning. So someone who's never taught a class before, or they're just, you know, still kind of new, like green to the whole process, put them in the middle, because the last person, oh man, sometimes we've had situations where someone forgot to talk about the diffuser, or they forgot to talk about they forgot an oil or whatever, and that last person can just like make it up. So that should be like the experienced person, and they can help to close it out really, really strong. But that format has worked really well. And this is what we found. If someone is teaching it, they are way more likely to invite people to it, right? Because here's what I tell them. Girl, you're going to be on it. It's 15 minutes, so easy. I'll show you exactly what to do. You pick the oils you're most comfortable with. And then at the end, you're going to have a recording that you can share with other people. So do you see all the cool things that are happening out of this? They now have like a recording. They can share it with all the friends. And I'm like, and go invite all the people, because it's best for them to be on their live. You can always share afterwards, but live is the key. I mean, again, we had to bump it up to 10 classes because we had so many people who were volunteering to do it. So it worked really well. We're still doing that format now. Love it. And that's something that we learned just out of this whole quarantine process. So inviting to a class, or inviting to teach a class, inviting to do a business call, right? So we took that similar format that we just did with the 101 classes. We basically did the same thing with the business call. So it was so cool. We do a 30-minute business call. And again, we focus very heavily on stories. And so it's maybe 2 or 3 people come in, share why they got into the business. And then you could play a video, either play a video like Kimmy Brooke has a great introduction, right, to the Young Living Business video. Or if you have one, like we ended up doing one. And so now I have a recording and I have Kimmy's video, and I'm like, pick one of these, share your stories at the beginning, boom, there you go. Your intro to the business call is done. But think about that. Each person shares their story in 2-3 minutes. Again, not a big effort, huge return. So the business class was huge. Even just like inviting them to share their story on social media, inviting them to come to a Zoom, like always be inviting was huge. And it was just something that we really ran with and really resonated very well with. Okay. Something else that was great that we found is, because of what was happening with quarantine, we had tons of people who wanted to teach classes, but they were overwhelmed with kids learning at home. Oh my gosh, I was so overwhelmed with that, right? All the Zoom calls. There wasn't enough bandwidth because there was like 5 people in the house on Zoom calls all at once, right? They didn't have the bandwidth. They didn't have the time. They felt overwhelmed. They were essential workers and they still needed to work, right? I had people coming out of the woodwork going, thank you so much for offering these 101 classes for everybody. And we had one lady who double ranked senior star and executive in 1 month, because she was like, I just invited people to all the 10 calls. She's like, I was inviting people to everything, right? She was inviting them to everything, but it doesn't stop there, right? Like she was also doing the follow-up, and that's something you have to teach as well. But it was awesome. And so even as we're sort of easing back into normalcy, we're still going to be offering maybe not quite 10, maybe once a week, and just kind of dividing and conquering, like each leader, like team up with a few people, go ahead and do that. But I will tell you, for me personally, I've been able to get so many newbies to say yes to teaching a class. Okay, 4th thing, recognition. I feel like getting to any rank, but in particular silver, that's not something, I mean, any rank, you're not really doing it. Maybe star, you could do star probably on your own if you did a big order, but really with every rank, right, recognition goes a really long way. It's not just on your efforts alone, it's your whole team. I am a huge fan of recognition. I feel like recognize anything and everything, seriously. they just got a kit, they just sold a kit, they just taught their first class, they got their first member on ER. I mean, we will celebrate things even when there's no like tangible result, right? Maybe they didn't do any of those things, but they put in the time, right? They followed up with 20 people, or they did something for the first time, or like just because, right? Like you just want to recognize someone just because. I will tell you, just having a culture of recognition, it has just been huge. And it's something I wish I had done um, bigger and more in the beginning, but we are definitely making up for it now. But I just feel like it's so huge. And I feel like with every personality type, they love recognition. Maybe the recognition is a little bit different. Reds seriously love recognition. Like you will really know who your reds are when you start recognizing them. But it's just huge. And the cool thing is that it's free, right? Recognition is free. Yes, you can send a card or like something in the mail, right? Like a little, like a tangible gift, but really recognition is free. You do a graphic for someone and say, congrats on your first kit. You just comment, you call them, you text them, right? You take a screenshot of something they did and send it over to them. It's huge. So I think just creating that culture, like you do it, but also teach your people to do it, that duplication is huge. And this is sort of a cautionary tale. I was just talking to a leader of mine who's working on getting to executive. And so I tell you this as a cautionary tale because as you start ranking up, you're going to think, well, there's leaders in between us. I don't need to do the recognition. And I want to tell you, doesn't matter if there's 20 levels in between us, I will recognize anybody and everybody. Like they always get a text or something in the mail from me just because that's how huge it is. But I had someone who just recently told me who's going for senior star. And she's like, you know, when I hit star a year ago, nobody recognized me. She was like, you're the only one who reached out. And there's 3 silvers in between us, right? It would have been very easy for me to think they've got it covered, right? They're closer to her, right? They know her personally. I don't even really know her, but she was like, that really meant a lot to me that you reached out. And I was like, oh, you're going to make me cry. That's huge, right? And so that's just further fuel for me to realize that recognition, every level for everything makes a huge difference. Like you really don't know what a difference it's going to make in someone's heart and their head for the business, the oils and everything. Unless you just keep, you know what I mean? You just have to keep doing it. You have to be real consistent in doing it. And on the recognition piece, I don't know if everybody knows this, but my husband is amazing, but he created this tool called Oily Trends. It's an app for your phone. And that's how I'm able to kind of easily do it. So rather than me sort of spending all this time looking for who just enrolled, who's my first time enrollers, who's my top enrollers, I can just go into the app. So I spend more time on the recognition, right, than actually getting into the tool, you know, like running reports. I can't even tell you in the beginning, I kept a Google spreadsheet, right, trying to keep track of everything. I don't even want to tell you how many hours I spent on that, not IPA at all. So don't do that, right? So that Oily Trends app was really born out of me going, here, honey, can you run these Google reports for me? And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. I'll create you an app instead. I'm like, oh, that seems easier. And so that's what he did. So the reports that are in there are things that I was wanting myself, right? Like who just reactivated, who's the top enroller, who's a first-time enroller, because I wanted to be able to recognize anything and everything. So that's why it's there. So if you don't have it, you know, definitely go check it out. It's awesome. Number 5, IPAs. So for me personally, you know, I really believe that if you want to build a young living business, you need to treat it like a business. If you're not making time to build it, you really just have a hobby. Okay. So that doesn't mean you need to spend 40 hours a week doing it. You can do it in 10 hours a week, right? Or whatever you want to do building up to that. I personally work about 25 to 30, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less. But I love that I can do it on my time, right? Like this is the benefit of the business. And I am not a fan of finding time to do the business because I feel like you're not going to find time. It's not like, oh, there 8 hours just showed up. How awesome is that? I get to do my business now, right? Like nobody finds time. I feel like that's a very like passive, like that's basically a passive way of saying I'm never going to do it is I'm finding time. I think you need to make time. You need to schedule the time. It's a non-negotiable, right? So whatever that looks like for you, you know, if you owned a coffee shop or if you had a 9 to 5 job, it's not like I found the time to make it into my 9 to 5 at, you know, at noon, right? Like you can't do that. I found the time to go into my coffee shop at 6 p.m. Like who's going to get coffee at 6 p.m., right? Like it's really having that dedication, right? Like you make the time, you schedule the time, it's non-negotiable. Like for me personally, I am a night owl. I do not wake up early. More power to you for your early birds. I know Anda's an early bird, and I'm like, no, thank you. I'm like rolling in at like 9, 10 o'clock. That's when I'm getting online. But that's just how I roll. But 10 to 2, that's like my most productive time. And so that's when I'm like everything I need to do. And just letting you know, okay, I tell my team this too, so they know this about me. I purposely do not answer messages. When people send me messages, I purposely do not answer them between 10 to 2. I wait until the late afternoon, because if they really wanted to find the answer, they would have found it by then. And so that cuts my time, right, being Google. And then by the time I get on, hey, did you find the answer for that, right? I would say like 9 times out of 10 they did. Then the other, right, like that 10%, I'm like, okay, now you have a question, a concern, how can I help you troubleshoot? Then I can use that time wisely. But I tend to use the later afternoons when I don't quite need the same brain space, right, for creativity or like to just like really be on it. If I need to troubleshoot, I find that's a very good late afternoon task. But yeah, you do not need to be Google. You do not need to answer things right away. I have a very small group of people where I'm like, okay, I'll answer their message right away. Other than that, I let it go and I let them figure it out on their own. And it's been huge. And they in turn have learned to do it too. You know, it's one of those things where you want to really help people to find answers on their own. That's what really builds leaders, right? Is that autonomy. The other thing that I was going to say is, as far as figuring out IPAs and where to spend my time, so we all know this, right? Like 3 ways to build your business. You enroll people, you get them on ER, you teach other people how to enroll, right? Those are like the 3 sort of tenets of the business, more or less. That's how I build my time, right? So I'm not going to lie. Of course, I scroll through Facebook or Instagram, right? I spend my 30 minutes doing that. That's not IPA. That's me wasting time in bed, right? Because that's just what I do. But when I'm really like that 10 to 2, where I'm in my power jam, that's what I'm focused on. If the task or the things that I'm doing do not fall into one of those 3 buckets, it can wait until later. Those are my top 3 things. So I go through my messages. I go through when I say I go through my messages, because I just told you I'm letting people answer their own questions. I go through messages of people where I'm working with them to get a kit, right? My fence sitters, my prospects. That's what I mean by going through my messages. My members, right, on ER, those are the ones I'm kind of working on. People getting to teach a class, that's what I'm doing for that real power jam session, is all of those IPAs. And what's been really helpful is, again, the Oily Trends app. What I'll do is I can look at my trending and look to see what is my ER percent this month versus last month. Where are my number enrollers this month versus last month? I really pay attention to those 2 stats in particular, as well as the average order size. The reason why I'm looking at that is I'll have some months where the enrollments are through the roof, right? You're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, right? And so I go back and assess what worked. Was it these 101 classes? Did somebody just kill it on social media? Like, what was going on? And we try to like duplicate that, right? Like, let's keep this going. And then I'm also looking at ER percentages. If I see ER percentages dip, it's like, all right, we better get back on this. More ER classes, more talking about ER. So it just kind of helps me to plan my month and like what classes or what things I'm going to focus on based on that. So great trending there if you're looking for that kind of thing. The other thing that I do is power hours. I don't know if you guys already do this, right? Yeah. So I also teach IPAs on the power hours. So I structure my power hours doing those 3 things. Okay. So like you've got an hour, right? So the first 20 minutes, I'm like, get your calendar out, make sure you've got classes on there, or you're promoting somebody, you know, one of our team classes, follow up with your prospects. Okay. Go and invite everybody. We share wins, and then we come back and we share that. The second portion of that call, the next 20 minutes, it's who do you have that's on ER that you haven't talked to? Go follow up, help them. Who do you have that's not on ER? Go follow up, right? Third is you know, who hasn't taught a class yet, or who do you see as potential business builders? Let's reach out to them now, invite them to our business opportunity workshop, right? So again, even using our power hours to further just teach about those 3 tenets of building a business. Huge. Okay, one more thing. Number 6, you guys all know this, I'm sure already, is duplication. You know, I just feel like again, awesome to be enrolling, awesome to getting people on ER. I've had builders who do those 2 things really, really well, but not the 3rd piece, which is that duplication, right? Which is teaching people how to do the business. So you know what happens? That's basically a sales job, right? When you're enrolling and getting people on ER, that's a sales job. The residual income, the true business portion of this, right, is getting people to do the business as well, that duplication. So if you aren't showing your members how to do those things, right, it's going to fall on you. I don't want to be the only person on my team who's building a business. I want all of us to be doing this. So it's for me personally, I need to dedicate time and focus on it. And that's why we're constantly doing, intro to business classes. I'm sure you guys have awesome classes, but you can do this too, and teaching people how to do it. And lastly, before we open it up to questions, because I know Anna's short on time, is I think honoring your casual sharers. So this goes back to your duplication. You have a ton of people who have probably shared and enrolled 1 or 2 people. I think they are amazing. They are awesome. If everybody just shared with 1 person, can you imagine? Like, your OGB would double. That would be amazing. So honor where they're at. And I think recognize that not everybody wants to be a business builder, but dig in deep with those relationships with people, right? Who maybe they just got their kit because a neighbor of theirs shared with them, but maybe 2 or 3 levels down, those people, right, might want to do the business. So that's, again, where the relationship building comes into play. But I think really honor those casual shares and not push the business, but always be inviting, because you never know where they are. Maybe 2 years ago they weren't ready, but now they are. So that's what I got. A lot of information.
There's lots of celebration for Trevor and Oily Trends in the comments, just so you know. Yeah, we love it. We love it. We love it. We gifted some of it too to some of our newer members, just so that they could get familiar. But it was really helpful to hear you talk about exactly how you use it today too. So I'm really, really excited about that. I'm not going to use the airwaves. I want you guys to ask questions, come live with Tracey. What's on your heart? What's on your mind? What else do you want her to answer for you right now? Let's take that time.
Happy to answer. I'm going through comments too to see if I see anything.
Tracey, when you were talking about how your team is doing the online classes, we've been doing a lot of that as well. Like tons of cross-line online classes. Cassie makes a graphic for us with them all every month. But one of the things that, like, especially my newer business builders, they're not inviting as much as I think they could be inviting. So wondering, like, giving them incentives for how many people they invite. What would your suggestion be for that, to help get them in that? Because I think once they do it, then they'll see the value, right? So, but how do you get them started with that?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like incentives work really well in this case. So we were doing that. I was offering roller bottles. I mean, anything that you have on hand, promo oils, right? Roller bottles you have on hand. And I would say if you invite 10 people and screenshot in this post, that was our big giveaway for the month. I'll send in, maybe I would offer 20 of them or 30 of them. And it was just pretty amazing. I feel like incentives are a really great way to drive behavior that you want to see. The other thing is we would recognize, this is another good role modeling. Like when we see someone who did it, we'd be like, look at, Angela, she invited 10 and she got an enrollment from the class. Woohoo, way to go. So when they actually see the results, maybe they weren't on the class so they couldn't see it, but when they see us do a post on that and do the recognition, they're like, oh, what did she do? She got $50 because she enrolled somebody. Yeah. So incentives and recognition, I think, are really big.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing is just letting people know. I feel like with Facebook, we rely so much on Facebook, right, to get the word out, and algorithms have just not been great. And so while I post on Facebook, I was also doing project broadcast. I kid you not. So I do a weekly oily tip. I don't know if anybody uses Engagement Source or if you do something else, but each week in my oily tip to like my subscribers, right, to whoever opted in, every week I'm like, check out our classes. Every single week I put that in there. So I'm constantly promoting it.
Duh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that because I do the opt-in for tips as well, and it's getting more and more traction. But I love that you've personalized the end of that. I need to
Oh
note to
yeah.
self.
I
Khadijah's got a great question in the chat there. Khadijah, if you can come live, you can ask it. Otherwise, I'll just have Tracey respond to it.
Okay, so question is, when it comes to duplication online, how do you help people get started talking online? Do you tell people to post their kit? When it comes, do you do an incentive for that? What are your steps? You know, this is an interesting thing. So I feel like also honoring people where they're at. I have like a very growing community out in Riverside, and like their average age is like 65 plus. So like for them, priority of like, you know, posting things on social media isn't really there. So I think kind of meeting people where they're at is huge. And so I think doing that, recognizing that, but of the people who want to be online, yeah, you could do incentives. Again, the recognition piece could kind of come in. It could be, look at Cassie, she just, you know, shared something, or she just got her kit, she just unboxed it. But you know, incentives could work really well for that. Recognition. I think even just suggesting it as an idea. Again, a lot of people don't even realize what they can do unless you like put it out there. And this is an area where I think you could also speak up to different personalities, right? So for a red, it could be, you know, if you shared your kit, you might be able to get your kit paid for because someone else will see it. For a yellow, they might not care if someone gets a kit, right? Because they don't need the money. But it could be, if you share your kit, you might have somebody in your friends and family network where they really need this, that they really need something to help with sleep or for their babies, and you could be helping them. So see how it's like the same tactic, but the messaging's a little bit different. Yeah.
I'm going to just piggyback on that because Khadijah and I have had these conversations before. So she has a huge following on YouTube and also Instagram. And so she has attracted some influencers that would be interested in starting the way you did, kind of as that affiliate marketing sort of piece.
Yeah.
How did you make the transition? You said a little bit about Lindsay's call, but are there some more specifics even from that standpoint that you have to share?
I think with the relationships is where it's really going to come in. I feel like if you want people to engage, you have to build a relationship with them, right? So, you know, I feel like I'm a dinosaur with the blogging because I feel like that's, you know, everybody's on Instagram now. It's just like totally different. But I think the relationship building piece is definitely the same. We've got also some YouTubers and Instagram influencers on our team, and they do a lot of recognition, but then it's a little bit different, right? Like they're doing it more on Instagram. They're not saying, hey, Instagram people who don't even have a Facebook account, come and share, right, in our Facebook group about how you got your kit. Like you have to meet people where they're at. So if they're on Instagram, have them share, do a story on it and share their kit and unbox it, right? So I think knowing, like, meet people where they're at on the platform they're already in versus like making them come into Facebook if that's not where they would normally be.
Yeah. And we've talked about that some too. And I think, you know, even you saying today, you know, Lindsay saying, hey, get on a call with me. Who wants to get on a call with me? And you taking her up on that. I think that's a huge relationship piece that she offered, you know, because you went from knowing each other on social, right, and through blog, to making that connection, and her saying you can do this was that trigger point for you, or that turning point for you.
It's huge. And what I see with our influencers is anytime, like the recognition piece I'm talking about, they'll do it in their stories, right? Like, look at so-and-so, they just got a kit. Look at so-and-so, they just signed up their first person. And so the same things that we often do through Facebook, they're doing through Instagram and stories. Just like the classes, they're promoting it in that way too. So, you know, that could be something to think about is, are you offering maybe some kind of a class or Instagram? Maybe you do like a collaboration together on Instagram of how you use your oils or for babies or whatever. I think knowing that like audience, a lot of our Instagram influencers are younger moms. And so they want all the baby stuff. And so that's a big thing that they're talking about.
And so it goes beyond just kind of placement, product placement. It goes into the building the relationship. Like you said, when you're talking to your fence sitters or people who are kind of asking questions about the kit but aren't members yet, you're prioritizing those conversations and putting it out there to people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Love it.
Yeah. Anything else, you guys, that you want to make sure we get in with Tracey? Gosh, I'm just so grateful for your time today. So, so good to just kind of clarify. And what's awesome, I just have to make a shout out to the executives who are on this call, because I said to Tracey, I said, I'm expecting executives to show up because you have some really huge gems of information that are going to just sort of leapfrog you to that silver status. And you're helping people think about basics that can help you get there, and refining what we're already doing in a new and different way, and taking on that leadership. I think stepping into that more and more will help shift a lot of people to their next level. So that's super, super great. Woohoo. Plus, I was laughing when you were talking about top enroller. Active enrollers has been a really great thing for me, and I actually screenshot it yesterday. I didn't post. I'll post it with the recording to this in our exec thread, our message thread, because most of you who are on this call today are on that, and that's because you are the engaged leaders. And I think Tracey mentioned that today, and I just want to again say how grateful I am to you for showing up, for being present, for making the decision right day in and day out to be that leader who's setting goals, who's seeing clear vision, and taking the steps necessary to accomplish what you've set out to do. It's awesome. Yeah. Woohoo. Yeah, Tanya's like, I'm in. This seriously resonated with me. Tons of thank yous in the comments. Tracey, I appreciate you so much. Looking forward to a peanut butter and jelly or chocolate mint or whatever smoothie we get next week.
Yes.
It'll be awesome to connect.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining in today. Appreciate you all. Thanks, Tracey.
Bye. Take care, everyone.